We left off kind of talking about Aquaman. We left off kind of talking about...
We were just bouncing all over the place,
I
honestly.
know. There's no cohesion with this kind of thing. So I think we have a lot of opinions.
Well, there's no cohesion with DC, so...
There is very true. So we're just being... we're just being metaphorical. But anyway...
It's Sleepless with Steve and the Movie Book Club with your host, Steve Pulaski.
I've been telling Joe at least 3 times now how much I brought up that, like, when we're talking box office, usually, Joe, you and I always bring up the fact that how Dom always goes back to, like, DC or, like, Marvel Cinematic Universe and stuff that. And, like, how they not only been the glutton, but they've really set an example for box office in terms of how to do things and set up a franchise.
It can be done.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. It can be done.
Because I know neither of us saw it, but we talked about The Mummy. We talked about The Mummy earlier this year, and we mentioned how it was one of those movies where it was like, it was supposed to set up that big dark universe, and then it didn't happen. And we were talking about the box office, and we were saying how, like, instead of focusing on making one good movie and seeing where it goes, they wind up making, like, they plan for 6 or 7 movies and then do the one poorly, and then nobody wants to see the other stuff.
It seems like they plan the dark universe like a season of The Walking Dead.
Yes.
Really, it's like, oh, here's some filler episodes, which translate into here's some filler movies.
Yeah,
you cannot do that. That's
you
not.
You can't do that for your starting point.
Absolutely not. At any point.
Did you see The Mummy, Joe?
I did see The Mummy.
I didn't. I did not watch it.
It was terrible.
I'm not. We talked during American Made. You know, I'm not a Tom Cruise fan, so I'm not going to see him. Unlike and like I said, I don't think he's as bankable of a star as he once was. But like I said, I'm not going to see Cruise in just anything. Yeah. You know what I mean? You got to sell me on something.
You know what would have been the perfect start to the Dark Universe?
What?
The Mummy from like 2000 and like Brendan Fraser's The Mummy.
Yeah.
That would have been a perfect start. Just have that be the start.
It was a hit.
But you see, cinematic universes weren't a thing then. It wasn't until Marvel that everybody wants to make that universe money.
Everybody wants to make that everybody wants to make the universe, but nobody wants to pay the right directors. Nobody wants to pay the script writers. You know what I mean? Nobody wants to pay anything.
They're just like, hey, if we have that team up movie, we're gonna make a lot of money, which we'll talk about later.
Indeed. we got a doozy on our hands tonight, but I am looking forward to it nonetheless. Justice League, directed by Zack Snyder, and a little bit. He's not credited as a director, but we know he had influence on the script too. He is credited as a co-writer. Joss Whedon, one of the masterminds behind the Marvel Universe as well. This is the big Super Friends gathering right now. It is also one of the most expensive films ever made.
Yeah.
Before marketing, this comes out to Justice League comes out to a $300 million movie. It's like a company at that point, and it's tied for second most expensive. The most expensive movie of all time is Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides. That cost $378.5 million.
Was that the 4th one?
That was the 4th one.
It's not even the trilogy?
The third one. The third one for many years, because the third one came out 10 years ago. The third one is tied with Justice League for $300 million. Okay. But the third one was for a while the most expensive movie.
Yes,
the most expensive movie ever made. Yeah, a lot of people. It's funny. I like to do that. I'm very fun at parties, so I like to ask people what's the most expensive movie ever made and what was the highest grossing ever made. Most people guess Avatar for the second one, but I like to, my little icebreaker game for even for a first date is what's the most expensive movie of all time, and then they
see if you're qualified.
Exactly, right? You know what I mean? Then they'll say something like, they'll say something like
Twilight.
Like Thor. You know what I mean? Lord have mercy.
This date.
Anyway, indeed. Anyway, so Justice League, I'm going to let Joe, you want to give a little, because you're more connected with comics and stories than I am. You could probably get this story a little bit more right, though it's not very complex. Give us a rundown of the plot of Justice League.
Okay, so this takes place after the events of Batman versus Superman, and I think also, it's through Suicide Squad as well, but mostly Batman versus Superman. Bruce Wayne, who's Batman, finds himself, he's finding an enemy,
Did
basically.
Did you just say Bruce Wayne, who's Batman?
Yeah.
For those who don't know,
just in case.
I'm so sorry, continue.
No, you're good.
You found your opening clip.
Oh, now I'm thrown off.
I'm so sorry.
You're good.
I'm so
You're
sorry.
good. You're good. Okay, so Batman is like, okay, he found some alien force that's invading Earth, and what he needs to do is he's decided that, well, now since Superman's dead, I need to assemble this team of heroes in order to defeat this alien force that I don't know what I'm dealing with here. So he gets with Gal Gadot, who's playing Wonder Woman once again.
It's Gal Gadot, actually. It's Gal Gadot. Yes, it is.
She pronounces it Gadot.
She pronounces it Gadot, yes. A lot of people say Gadot. It's Gadot, yes.
We were trying to be fancy, but whatever.
I would actually rather it be Gadot, but... You know?
And so, like, he's got to assemble this team of heroes, which is Aquaman, Cyborg, and Flash, to defeat this force known as Steppenwolf and his army of minions, which are giant bugs or something. I don't know.
The first time I heard
Parademons, I think.
Parademons, yeah, there we go.
I had no clue of this villain before.
I didn't either.
But when I first heard Steppenwolf, I was like, wait, like the 70s rock band?
It was not nearly that cool. It was not nearly that cool.
It would have been cool if he would have wrote in on a guitar or, like, just, like, doing a sweet solo or something.
I don't know, I didn't know how you were going to structure this, but I think we should probably preface this on, like, how much we know about the comic books overall. Are we even
Very
there
little.
on
Very
that one?
little.
So, like, how do you want to break it down? Like, because you're going to ask it. All right, so I know a lot about Batman. I don't know anything really. Batman and Flash. I don't really know nothing about Aquaman, Wonder Woman, Cyborg, just the Teen Titans cartoons.
But
Yeah,
have you
really?
read just the cartoons? Have we just seen the TV series?
I saw the
all
TV
of
series
it?
Justice League, yeah.
Sure.
A little bit. I got very little to go off of here.
Yeah, Batman the Animated Series, which is like landmark in American television.
I've seen
A
that as
landmark
well.
series.
Yeah.
But so I don't think we've read any of the comics.
No.
So we're not fanboys here, is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
No.
which is, I think, a decent way to approach it.
But
you
anyway,
know?
continue.
Yeah, so he's just got to defeat Steppenwolf and save the Earth. That's basically it, man.
Indeed, elaborate plot, as we all know. So I guess there's a lot of potential starting points for this thing. We already know, and I said this too when I was reviewing Wonder Woman with Dom. I said when we were talking, because we both liked Wonder Woman quite a bit, and I said, and I remember saying, I said, what the worst thing about Wonder Woman now is, I said it's setting us up for an inevitable letdown with Justice League, because that's kind of how I view Justice League, as almost like an inevitable letdown. I said it could be done well. There's a chance, but I said it's very slim to none. And now I think I can finally make this statement. I'm going to set it up right here. Okay, disagree with me if you want, but this is my statement. As long as Zack Snyder is tied to the DC extended universe, it's got no chance of succeeding. You've had 4 years now. You've had 3 movies with his imprint on them. None of them have been very good. They've been very lackluster. His kind of imprint is here. And even though this movie feels less Zack Snyder than Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman, it almost seems like Warner, after the colossal failure of Batman vs. Superman critically and its underwhelming performance financially, which goes in line with this, it feels like they really kind of sat down and talked with Zack Snyder about style. And then, of course, they got Joss Whedon in it on, too, after Zack Snyder suffered a family tragedy. So then they kind of got his imprint on it, too. I have to go off of Ignatiy Vishnevetsky, the film critic. He said, this has got to be the first movie in history that's got more script notes than screenplay. You know, in terms of how, like he said, quote unquote, they probably wrote on every page, quote unquote, be more Marvel. You know, because that's what it feels like. Joseph, I want just a reaction on your face.
You just took the words out of my mouth right there.
Ignatiy Vishnevetsky
every single time this movie tried to be funny with the Flash character, the Flash character the most, I was like, wow, this is literally they're just trying to do Marvel here. They are really just trying to be Marvel. And, like, that's not a bad thing. Wonder Woman copied a Marvel formula with, like, Thor and Captain America's first movie. I was like, okay, that's a formula that works. You could try that. And it worked for Wonder Woman. It was a good movie. Here, I don't know what went wrong. It was like, okay, let's even be more like Marvel than ever before. And it just backfired on them, especially with the Flash's character. He got on my nerves sometimes.
Ezra Miller is brutal here. Absolutely brutal. He's not good. He doesn't have good writing. Flash doesn't have good writing. It's like a mix of third-rate Deadpool sarcasm and that kind of like, what, did I do that? Spider-Man Homecoming.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That like incompetence.
But he doesn't have the charm that Ryan Reynolds or Tom Holland really brought to that role.
No, not at all. Dominic, we're a little bit neglecting you here. Give me your thoughts. Break it down for us.
No, you're pretty much hitting it right there. I've said this before in other discussions about the DC Cinematic Universe, which, by the way, is not the official name of the franchise. Like, I think someone just put DC Cinematic Universe on there, copying Marvel Cinematic Universe.
It's extended universe.
Is
It's
it
extended
universe?
DCEU.
Yeah.
DCEU,
Is the
technically.
official name.
Is the official name, yeah.
Just kidding. But
You can find tons of fanboys arguing in the comment section about that.
Oh, indeed, definitely.
this is unique.
I don't know if we have fans, though.
This is like the 5th time I've said this on this show. I'm not kidding. But we are in interesting times in just overall cinematic history. Like, this has never been attempted. Well, actually, I should say this has been attempted only once before by Marvel, and that was a runaway success. But these things take decades to put together.
No,
and
3 years.
3 years?
3 years. We could do it in 3 years.
According to DC, according to the DCEU.
They've been planning a Justice League movie for a while, though, but
Sure.
I don't think they were really like serious, committed, started casting and everything until Marvel got big, and then it all set off with Man of Steel, though. But yeah, so it's been in development, but like planning for a universe,
These things, we're in the age of universes now. That's how you invest fanboys.
No doubt, yeah, no
like
doubt.
this generation of moviegoers, especially Americans, are just they have honestly they have too much time on their hands. No, I'm half kidding, but it's more so like they're just obsessed with universes. They're obsessed with lore. Like wikis are a thing. Look
Yeah.
on the World of Warcraft wiki or Wikipedia, which is the Star Wars wiki. All this useless information about fantasy fake things.
Yeah,
it's incredible.
Can I make the argument? And I understand. Sorry to cut you off there.
No,
I was curious, and can I make the argument? And I don't want to steer too far away from Justice League. We could talk the whole show about it, but I want to devote mostly the hour or the whole hour to it. But can I make the argument that part of the reason that, like you say, Americans, I would argue worldwide. I think a lot.
Yeah, I think it's worldwide,
I think
too.
like the phenomenon's worldwide. Can I make the argument though that that a lot of people go nuts for these extended universes, cinematic universes, these interconnected realms? Because TV is such a big thing, and TV is something that keeps you coming back week after week. You can grow with the characters over a lengthy period of time, over several years, whereas a movie's over in an hour and a half, 2.5 hours. Could I make the argument that TV, the recent rise of TV in about over this decade, has launched like people and fans' interest in cinematic universes, these interconnected worlds?
It was internet. You think it was internet streaming specifically?
I think it was a combination of the internet and internet streaming and TV
instant.
shows.
It's
I think
instant.
those three.
You're not beholden now to weekly schedule. I come back next week for more to see more of The Flash.
Well, and now you're seeing, and this is a perfect way to lead back into this. Now you're seeing superhero shows, you're seeing superhero programs, you're seeing Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., you're seeing
Punisher.
Essentially the Avengers of TV, which
Yes.
is what?
Defenders.
So
yeah.
the Marvel brand is extending now to television and streaming, okay?
Next logical step.
And this is the thing. This is what makes it feel like Justice League, in my opinion, felt like a pilot. That's what made Justice League right here feel like a pilot to me. It's really inconsequential for an origin story, kind of. It's kind of like get a gang back together, fight a horribly, horribly useless villain.
Oh man, I can't wait to talk about that.
I mean, I can't really think noteworthy of like a super movie, because that's the one thing Marvel, if you want to pinpoint one thing that Marvel struggles at, Marvel has a hard time getting the villain right.
yeah, there's very few times they've actually got it right.
Very few. You could probably count them on one hand.
They all happen to wear green.
Yes, indeed. There's not a lot of opportunity. Like they've always kind of screwed up the villain. Like even I remember one of my main complaints on the Avengers was with Loki. I said it's like a 5-on-1 thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where it felt unbalanced. But Justice League really missteps with it. What do you guys think with the villain?
Well, the point, okay, like with Loki, you at least had him in the first Thor movie be introduced. So you kind of got a feel for him that when he went into the Avengers, you didn't have to really have that whole character development. You knew what the character was, and now you're seeing him actually be like a more powerful villain than he was in the first Thor movie. And he actually felt like a threat to the Avengers, along with the army that he brought with him. Here, Steppenwolf, you don't really get a feel of what kind of power he has, because at the beginning of this movie, he's all this powerful thing, and then of course by the end, he's weak and like gets destroyed in like a matter of seconds. And it's just like you don't really get a feel for him at all during this entire movie. And then you have him doing the cliche dialogue that every villain has. You're like, oh, I'm going to take over the world. Why? You won't ever know why. He just wants to do it for fun.
Yeah, really. You don't get much development towards these villains whatsoever. To go on the few positives, I know we're just kind of dodging and weaving through it, because I mean it's a big movie. There's a lot of stuff to go on and stuff like that. But you know what I will say? The one thing that I did take out of this movie, like I knew Gal Gadot was going to be pretty good. I knew that. You know what I mean? She's the most interesting character of the whole Justice League clan as of now too. You know, another critic too. Dave Ehrlich said too. He said, we're now at a cultural point right now where Americans would sooner sit through 10 Wonder Woman sequels than even another gif of Ben Affleck Batman. You know, and I think he's right, like a 90-degree angle. I really do.
For me, I don't know how you felt about this, but in Batman vs. Superman, I actually did like Ben Affleck as Batman. I didn't think like he was amazing, but I was like, this is a good start to a Batman character with him. Here, though, I thought he was the worst one on the team, honestly.
Part of it is just that, like, I'm tired of Batman. I really am. Like, we got... Because the problem is we just got the perfect trilogy not that long ago.
Yeah.
It ended this decade. You know what I mean? Like, we just got the perfect trilogy that's probably never going to be topped in the next 50, 60 years at least. And now we get this Batman who feels who's a half kind of baked Batman in an underwhelming universe. I love Ben Affleck.
I do like Ben Affleck as well. He just doesn't make sense though. Going off now, my fanboy inside of me.
Indeed.
Growing up watching Batman, reading some Batman comics, playing the Batman games, everything. Batman is a genius. He goes throughout this entire movie sometimes being like, oh, well, that is something Batman would do, to just being like, what the hell are you doing? That's not Batman at all.
Yeah, he's playing it very differently. Like, I don't look at Ben Affleck as Bruce Wayne and see a genius.
No, I don't either. I don't know if it's Ben Affleck or the script they're giving him.
I'm not sure on that. You know what I mean? That's a good point. I will say though, you know what this movie did succeed in doing? Because I will say it's not the $300 million Zack Snyder directed, Joss Whedon salvaged hot mess, okay? It's not awful.
No,
I would argue Batman versus Superman is worse. I would argue Man of Steel in some ways is a little bit more underwhelming, even though I would say this is more underwhelming. I would say there's different points where I found they were more underwhelming. But I will say too, you know what this movie did get me excited for what this is worth? I am really looking forward now to Aquaman. I will admit, I like Jason Momoa. He admittedly comes off a little bit like a second-rate Rock. But like, I mean, he does in a way. But
he's doing much better than Rock.
You know, but
than Dwayne the Rock Johnson.
I don't know about that. I would have to see more stuff with him. But I kind of look forward. I kind of like the smart ass of his character. I mean, if you talk about like a character who clearly like is kind of like grumpy, but
drunk uncle,
but still sardonic a little bit, like is fun. And he provided better comic relief. There's a great scene involving him and an accoutrement accessory of another Justice League character.
Yeah.
Towards the end, there's a great scene. And when you come to that kind of comic relief in Aquaman, it's a lot better than The Flash.
Yeah.
It's a lot better. You know what I mean?
It doesn't feel as forced.
No, not
like
at all.
With Barry Allen in this movie, The Flash, they were just like, okay, every scene he has to have a joke. He has to do something funny. There's a few scenes where he does something funny, and it's mostly his facial expression that like, oh my God, what is going on right now?
I couldn't stand him whenever he was...
Just hate him no matter what?
He was dreadful. I couldn't stand him whenever he was on screen.
I know you guys couldn't stand him, and I had a hard time standing him as well. But let's be honest, they did that. They wrote him in such a way because... Scriptwriters wrote him in such a way because that's what works. This whole movie was just trying to do things that worked.
Yeah.
They tried to do... I'd say pretty much just Zack Snyder and maybe some associated scriptwriters.
Joss Whedon too.
Sure, Joss Whedon.
Because Snyder didn't write this. Snyder didn't write this. It's Chris Terrio and
Joss Whedon.
And Joss Whedon.
Yeah.
Snyder didn't write it.
I'm actually talking about now for movie BVS, Batman vs Superman,
Indeed.
as well as Man of Steel. Those two movies, they were actually trying to do something different than Marvel. Only they just didn't do it well. So now what Justice League is doing, and you know, Wonder Woman is kind of the oddball out here by actually being good, but Justice League is just trying to play catch up, which is just the entire theme of every movie in the DC extended universe here, which is just playing catch up to Marvel. And it's incredible because, you know, I'll use some other weird example here. Yahoo was the first internet search engine. And then Google came in and did it better. And I'm sure there are so many other... I can't think of other examples right now, but just...
Bing.
Usually, Bing. Wait, no, not Bing. But, you know...
Vimeo to YouTube, maybe?
Maybe, yeah. Vimeo
YouTube?
comes in, starts off, and then YouTube does it better. Here, Marvel did it great, and then DCEU comes in and just... and tries. I don't know.
But at least in a quality sense, and this is probably a better business debate than it is a movie debate, but can you live your life, can you thrive on playing catch up? You know what I mean? Can you thrive on playing catch up?
That's not how a business works.
We'll show it, like, of course, later on when we talk about box office,
Yeah,
that
next
like eventually,
month,
when you play
hour.
catch up and try to rely on fanboys supporting your movies, it's gonna backfire on you.
After kicking them, you know, the last couple, you know.
Yeah.
We'll take a quick break. What's going on, gentlemen? We left off kind of talking about Aquaman. We left off kind of talking about...
We were just bouncing all over the place,
I know.
honestly.
There's no cohesion with this kind of thing. So I think we have a lot of
Well, there's
opinions
no
on it.
cohesion with DC, so...
There is very true. So we're just being we're just being metaphorical. But anyway, being symbolic. But anyway, we were talking though about Dominic brought up a very good point. He said, you got Yahoo, who came up with the search engine, then Google came in and did it way better, way more linear, way more successful. Can you live your life on playing catch up? And that right now is kind of what DC is living and dying by. I think, is playing catch up to Marvel and not fleshing out the ideas that they have. Because I think DC, there's no reason DC cannot exist as a universe.
No, it could totally be a counterpart to Marvel.
They have a good universe and be a good universe.
As somebody who has read a few of their comics, like usually the ones that are small amount of issues, I don't have to read like 600 of them, or it's just one book.
Yes.
To me, DC has always had better stories and even some better characters than Marvel. It's just Marvel has been doing, to me, entertainment-wise, when it comes to TV and movies, much better than DC right now.
Oh yeah, I do not. I agree wholeheartedly. I think that the problem is that Marvel right now is DC right now is
Marvel's on its way out.
Yeah, I was gonna say Marvel actually too. Marvel, I wouldn't be surprised. You say with the box office haul and everything that they would never do this. You wouldn't be surprised to see them wrap up though. You know what I mean? Or like come to kind of a close or start something new. Because they're they're going on 10 years next year.
They have said after the 4th Avenger movie that they're gonna continue, of course, the movies with Spider-Man, the Guardians, all that, like the people who have been introduced later on, not the main 4 or 5 of the Avengers. They said they're gonna continue. But it's like, it won't be as big as these movies, I think, were. I mean, maybe just the solo movies like Guardians and Spider-Man, but I don't think like a sequel to Doctor Strange or Captain Marvel, which is coming out soon, or Ant-Man, is going to be as big as like, the Captain America, Thor, or Iron Man
No, they were
sequels.
never planned to be. But anyway, let's talk though of the main characters in the film, okay? Because we got, we
had to rank them.
Yes, we are. Yeah, I was gonna say not rank them, but like, who was your favorite? Who did you like the most in this one?
Can we talk about him?
Because we got, I hate to say it, spoiler alert. He's on the damn poster. His logo's on the poster. Superman's back.
He's the first person mentioned in the credit roll too.
Henry Cavill's back as Clark Kent. Jason Momoa plays Aquaman. Ray Fisher plays Cyborg. Or I'll keep going. Ben Affleck plays Batman. Ezra Miller plays the Flash, as we said, and Gal Gadot's back as Wonder Woman. I will say, if there's anything right now like that, and this is why I think I look forward to the Aquaman movie, I don't think Flash and Cyborg could sustain their own movie.
Really?
Cyborg is like at the mercy of himself, I think, and the mercy.
Did you
of
not
his
like
own
Cyborg either?
I didn't think much of him. I'm not gonna say.
I actually liked Cyborg a lot.
Because you were skeptical. Movie. You were very skeptical.
I was very skeptical, and it didn't help too. I will admit this though. His CGI for him is not the best at all.
No.
But I did enjoy. I thought he was going to be coming from a Zack Snyder movie, I thought he was going to be much more like depressed and drowery the entire time. Like, oh, I hate, being a machine. This sucks. He starts off like that, but as the film goes on, he becomes... Well, that actually just gets forgotten, honestly, now that I think about it.
Honestly, the problem with this movie is that it tried to, shoehorn
three
new characters, right?
And their worlds.
Because they were in Batman vs. Superman very briefly, but they were just barely cameos.
in like a press release. I don't know what it was.
They were like basically teasers.
Yeah, they were. Like Suicide Squad. You saw them on a computer screen.
Those teasers that make like fake websites for the film that you go on to, they were like clips of that.
It felt like a mid-roll ad.
Yeah.
In the middle of your video. Honestly, that's what it was.
It was like, and anyways, here's Justice League coming soon.
But, Flash was introduced in this movie, Cyborg was introduced in this movie, and there you go. Then there was 3. You're right.
Aquaman, did they get introductions?
Yeah, 4 in the villain as well. So every movie has to have a villain that you have to introduce for the first time in that movie. I don't think that's how it has to be, but that's the formula, and that is what has worked. So that you can give them that, right?
Yeah.
But to try and shoehorn 3 brand new characters into this movie, and then like in the third act have them unite and be like, we're the team. All right, let's do this.
And we have coherency all of a sudden. At least Suicide Squad. At least with Suicide Squad, at least those villains, they're the anti-heroes in a way. At least there was like a little bit of like
we're the bad guys.
Well, not only that, but there was a push.
5
pull.
times in that movie they say that.
There was a push pull between the two of them because they were not used to operating. Guardians had the same thing. There's a push pull against these characters because they're not used to working in unison. These guys have barely had coffee together, and all of a sudden they're working, and they
just show up randomly. to help each other too.
You know, I mean, you do have like a little bit of beef with Aquaman and Flash, but that's more just like general incompetence too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because Flash could screw up a cup of coffee. You know what I mean in this movie. So like, you don't really get any sense that like there's really much coherency between these characters or it's just phoned in completely.
You were asking who's your favorite character. I think J.K. Simmons, Commissioner Gordon, and his ability to just show up and take that paycheck was awesome.
Yeah, really, man. That guy,
He did not. He really didn't care.
That's not really nothing, no fault of his own. Because what did he have to work with? Absolutely
he
nothing.
got jacked for this movie too, for some reason.
he's not as good as Viola Davis. He's not as good as Viola Davis in Suicide Squad, but he's something.
But at least she was,
Well, she was more integral too.
Yeah, she was more integral to that. She was like, okay, I got to set the tone of this movie. I got to get them together and keep them in line. J.K. Simmons was
Oh, hey, Batman.
the Oscar award-winning J.K. Simmons. What was up with that?
Oh, you have
I hear
friends.
He did all that work.
Oh, there's a machine man here now.
He got ripped, and then but he's also like in 3 layers of clothing at least.
Yeah,
in
really.
the rain. Like, okay, anyway.
Yeah, it's
but-
like pouring
He should have
down
been
rain.
chucking chairs at people. He should have joined the fight. But
That
if
was a
I had
nice
to pick a
trench coat,
character,
but I don't know. Continue.
if I had to pick a character, honestly, I gotta go with, even though, like, yeah, it is kind of a spoiler, but who cares? He's on the poster. Superman was my favorite. His return.
He smiled.
Man, he did. He smiled. He said justice. He did the shirt thing. I was like, it's about time we're getting this
Seriously.
Superman. Honestly, I had the most fun. His return is my favorite scene in the movie. I love that scene.
But it sucks that we're at this point where instead of being like,
Oh my God, it's Superman. He's back.
Instead, he's more like, finally, jeez.
Yeah,
how
it's like,
long-
all right,
Did
finally,
you
we
really
got to
think he
this
was
point.
gone? Did
Yeah,
you really
no,
think he was gone? There was
never.
no conviction.
How long did it take? Oh, finally.
He was
did
gone
he
for
did this thing.
He
How
wasn't
long
even.
did it take
If you
him?
really think about it, he wasn't even gone for a movie.
No.
He was
go-
there
he
for
wa-
Batman vs Superman. Suicide Squad was never gonna have that.
He was gone for a first act. He was gone for a first act. You know what I mean? Like, it really... Because, like, even when it happened at the end of Batman vs. Superman, I'm like, I don't feel any sense of tragedy. He's gonna come back, for
And then,
God's
like,
sake.
Batman's
Justice
just like,
League's in
he was a
year.
symbol for humanity and hope. He inspired us all. When?
He didn't have much time to do it. You know what I mean?
You killed him in his second movie.
Michael Shannon inspired a lot of faith in me. I'll tell you that much. I like Zod in that Man of Steel. But you know what I will say too, and this is different than any other, including Wonder Woman. I'm going to say this because I didn't really feel like too much like sorrow, emotion. I felt like, kind of happy too because Wonder Woman was good. But I'll tell you, the DC universe, the DC extended universe, has spawned. This is the good thing about Justice League. It spawned a little bit of emotion in me. Okay, and this comes in the opening credits. They play this very like somber, languid ballad. It's by a band called Sigrid. It's called the song's called Everybody Knows. God, I love that opening credits song. I loved it. You know what you guys, you know what I'm talking about, right? Did you really listen to it?
Oh, yeah.
The opening credits song. I mean,
Which scene?
It's in the
Because
very.
there's like 3 openings to this
It's
movie.
it's the very opening when they're showing like the dilapidated world. The headlines say Superman's dead. Amy,
Oh, okay. All right, yeah.
Lois Lane's crying in bed, and I love the opening.
No, yeah, that was a good song. Yeah.
I love the opening. I'm just gonna read you the opening lines of this. The opening sentences of this song. This song, Everybody Knows by Sigrid. We got to get this in AV. It says, everybody knows that the dice are loaded. Everybody rolls with their fingers crossed. Everybody knows the war is over. Everybody knows the good guys lost. What a great song.
Yeah. So
That's a
edgy.
song to cry and drink to. I loved it. And the thing is, like, again, you put it in the movie. I said, like, I even said too. I said, when I'm watching this like evident emotional manipulation play on screen, I thought I went into a showing of Wonder. You know what I mean? Instead, but I'm listening. I'm
They're
like,
gonna recruit that boy with the disfigured face on their team.
as bad as fairly obvious of an attempt it was to get emotion for Superman's dead. I liked it. I thought it was actually a decently effective opening, and I thought that
Music can always help with that.
it is, and it was a good song nonetheless, dude. So I'm not gonna lie. One of my favorite parts of Justice League was that damn song. I can't hide that. Okay, it's just a really good song. Okay, and that I felt more during that like 3.5 minute sequence than I did when Superman rose again.
Oh, yeah.
I really did.
Well, Superman rose again. I was just like, yes, he's back. It was just, oh, this is actually a really fun action sequence.
Okay, well, I'm like, we got that point out of the way. We got that
Yeah.
plot point out of the way.
Not to give away like who's there or anything, but yeah, it is a fun action sequence.
It is.
honestly.
It's honestly not bad, and that's the one thing. Another thing I'll say too, and this is why I can't give this movie too contemptible of a review, even though I did not like it. The action scenes are better here. They're better. Wonder Woman was a little. I'll say this: Wonder Woman was okay. The last 20 minutes of Wonder Woman are really incoherent. That's what prevented me from really calling Wonder Woman great. Dom, I don't think you.
I don't think Patty Jenkins directed the last 20 minutes. I think Zack Snyder directed the last 20 minutes of Wonder Woman. And if you look at this movie,
or they forced her hand with it, you know, because I did get that vibe too. I'm like, this feels very different than the previous 2 hours, but I liked some of the action sequences more, and maybe I think it was because they were directed a little bit better. I think Snyder sat down with Warner Brothers, or Warner Brothers forced Snyder to sit down with them, and they kind of talked it out what they wanted with it, and he gave them something a little bit more studio, because this does feel more studio. This doesn't feel as intensely Zack Snyder, you know.
For me, I would say the opening action sequence with Wonder Woman at the bank was really good. The Superman returning action sequence was good, but the final battle, I was like tuned out.
It's a little messy.
It's a little it's CG just unleashed.
Yes.
It's just all over the place.
You know, that brings up a bigger point about just the overall aesthetic of this movie, and also the overall aesthetic of this whole franchise. And I think what accentuates what's wrong with this aesthetic the most, personally speaking, and I think you guys hop along as well, is really Cyborg's character design. Like, if you obviously this is not going to help our radio listeners too much, but if you look up, can you look up, Steve, a picture? I know we're trying to not use the computer as much, but if you look up like a picture of Cyborg's character design, like a full body image and character shot, it's his face, his human face does not mesh well with the cyborg face.
It doesn't.
No.
His human face looks plastic. I don't know what happened there. Look, we're not artists, you know. We're not like
this is how he looks on the CGI. Solo on the individual character theatrical poster.
But there's just too many moving parts almost. And I get he's cyborg. He's supposed to have like literal moving parts as a machine, but it's not. You can still make him aesthetically pleasing. Okay, now look up Cyborg from the Teen Titans cartoon show.
Oh, yes.
And now look, that's not a fair comparison 100% because it's a cartoon.
Animation versus...
It's literally anime, right? Or at least attempting to be anime. So there's some inherent differences here, but look how much cleaner this is.
You have a few more fleshy parts to it too than just the actual, like, you know.
It accentuates
it's
the human side
sharper.
more.
There's a better contrast.
It's not all gray.
It's a clean slate.
Yeah.
It's a cleaner
Yeah, there's
slate.
blue, there's blue, there's white, there's some good contrasting colors. There's black on the hips.
It's just easier to look at, and again, it's a cartoon. I get it. That's not the most fair comparison in the world, but there's still just the basic attributes.
And keep in mind, that's probably the Cyborg many of us remember. You know what I mean?
That
because
is
Teen
also
Titans
true.
was
That
our
is also
era.
true.
You know,
and I'm not an artist or anything CGI, so I'm not necessarily trained in all this.
You know what I've noticed, and Joe, I know you've seen a lot. You've seen a lot of movies like me too. When you get these big budget like action movies, like World War Z, some of the most expensive movies ever. Pirates of the Caribbean can fall under this too. What was the other one too? Godzilla, the new one. When you start to use a lot of CGI, it starts to look really fake.
Yeah.
It starts to look really fake.
There's no sense of
weight
or like
That's what I always
danger
say.
at all.
No.
You don't feel anything because you know it's fake. You can tell it's fake. In the last 20 minutes, it's just a red fake cloud of just CG and purple vines shooting out of the ground and alien bugs flying all over the place.
Can I make the argument too that it doesn't give the actors much incentive to act because they know they're self-aware that they're going to be buried under millions of dollars worth of aesthetics and millions of dollars worth of special effects.
You just say catchphrases, that's all.
You know what I mean? And you're acting with things that aren't really there, and it's challenging. But I mean, there's a difference between like Life of Pi level CGI too, and like the intimacy of that movie, than something like this that's very cacophonous, that's very, you know, overloaded with special effects and stuff. Not to mention, you know, an ugly visual palette because everything Snyder's got to do is ugly.
Yeah.
You know, in my opinion. But like that's a thing too.
It works. It works for Watchmen.
That's what I think.
It works for Watchmen because that Watchmen,
which I've never seen. I've never seen it.
I'm even talking also about the graphic novel itself. But the graphic novel itself, you know, it literally ushered in the Silver Age of comics. If I'm using that correctly. But so that Snyder's film style works with Watchmen. But if you're trying to do a whole franchise of many different moving parts and many different style, you know, characters and, you know, okay, here's the Wonder Woman story, which is more Amazonian, and here's the Batman movie, which is more gothic. You know, it can't. It's not as adaptable to all these things as we'd like it to be. Whereas Marvel, and again, it sucks that we have to compare these things, but we have to compare these things. That's just where we are. But with Marvel, it has a more adaptable aesthetic to all of its movies.
No, I definitely agree.
Well,
with
it helps
that,
because,
too.
Marvel's, once again, had that slow building universe. It wasn't like they tried to gun this all out at once. It was like, all right, we're going to introduce Iron Man. We'll see how this works. Okay, now we're going to introduce Hulk. We'll see how this works.
They were innovating that formula.
All right,
they
now
dictated the playfield.
Now it's time to introduce another world, Thor. Okay, now we're gonna go back to Earth. We're gonna introduce Captain America. All right, team up movie. Okay, now we're gonna introduce this. Now Guardians of the Galaxy. Now Doctor Strange. They built their way to eventually get to those points where it's a whole different thing, whether it be space or Doctor Strange's magic. They built their way there that it felt believable in that world because we slowly got there. It wasn't we were just shoved in there all at once, and then now we're just kind of like, where are we with this universe?
We felt, and this is the crucial thing to Marvel's, not only Marvel's success, I think, financially, but Marvel's success just in terms of making good movies, is that Marvel really genuinely wanted to care, or wanted you to know these characters and connect with these characters.
Yeah.
You can't have that. Again, it goes back to Dom's very intelligent point. This is why I like having you on the show, too. You make very intelligent points. It goes back to the fact that, you can't make a quality product when you're trying to play catch up with your competitors. You can't do it. It's almost impossible, because there's a fear to innovate. That's another thing. There's a fear to innovate. There's a fear to spend a lot of time on something because you think that you're already behind. You know what I mean? So there's all these little variables and vulnerabilities that are clawing at your, your brain and, racking at your brain because you're playing second banana to something that's large and getting larger.
It's like that guy who invested thousands of dollars in fidget spinners, and by the time he got around to actually starting to sell them, it was already over.
Yeah, really. That fed. Now it's really just the people. Now it's really just the people that really need those things, or really are calmed by those things too. Which I have when I actually use it on a semi-regular basis.
The clickers are better. The fidget clickers are better.
I like those, the cubes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like them better too.
Yeah, I think the thing is, if you get a good fidget spinner, if you get a good 50, if you get, I don't have one, but if you get a $20, $30 fidget spinner, those are nice because the gears aren't so loud. You know what I mean? You can actually spin it and it'll be totally silent. The cheaper ones, you can hear the gears in them, okay?
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time on that. Coming at you right now, concluding thoughts on Justice League. We're going to start, I think you got the least amount of speaking time out of the three of us, D. Dominic Guanzon, you are going to give your final thoughts. Take a couple of minutes. Talk about what you think of Justice League, your final thoughts. Try your best to give some coherent thoughts on this film.
There was a time when DC was innovative and it was fresh. Of course, one of the greatest superhero films of the 2010s, the aughts, I don't know. The Dark Knight. I watched The Dark Knight, a couple months ago again. Heath Ledger's Joker, etc., Christian Bale. I looked at that movie. What was at stake in that movie? Not a lot, actually. In the third movie of that trilogy, there was literally an atomic bomb, right? And the first movie, the whole town was literally going to kill itself because they were poisoned by whatever. But for Joker, what was at stake there?
Two boats.
Two boats full of people. That's a lot. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Some more hostages. For the most part, though,
Burning a pile of money.
For the most part, though, it was all about Joker screwing with Batman.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's what it was.
Psychological.
Exactly. And that is a testament to the writing of the characters. And just the smartness of that script and just an original idea overall. Maybe, not wholly original because that's been explored many decades ago. And of course the comic books and other things. But at least in terms of the superhero movie, they could do things like that. In Justice League, they just went back to what worked. They had to go back to what worked. And sadly, they had to go back to what worked, not even in their own playbook, but another team's playbook. They had to bring in a coach from another team, Joss Whedon and Marvel. So, again, this feeling of playing catch up, despite what was, in my opinion, actually a fairly competent movie. We are harping on this movie. I harped on it a lot. I sound like I'm totally negative, but honestly, it was a fairly competent movie, and it can stand on its own. But the level has been here, and I'm raising my hand to a certain level. The level's been here for a while, and you've been taking notes, and you have the opportunity to do these things, but you only get to hear. And the second hand is lower, of course, than the first one. And that's just a shame at where we are. But I guess I'll give it 2 stars out of 4. It sounds like it should be lower, but again, it was actually a surprisingly competent movie.
Do your own rating.
Sadly surprising.
Do your own rating.
Yeah.
Come on, give it to me.
Oh boy, was it doing my own rating? I'll give it 1 booyah out of 156 expected corny lines out of so many things.
Cringeworthy lines.
I love it. Joseph, let's hear your thoughts. You are a big superhero fan. You're a bigger fan than myself. Let me hear you break down
All right.
Justice League.
Okay, so kind of going off what Dom said, literally just going off of that, also my own thoughts. Yeah, we did harp on this movie a lot, but it isn't as bad as we're making it out to be. It is competent, like he said. That is very true. For me, though, this movie is 2 hours right now. It's what it says on IMDb. It says it's 2 hours, and that makes perfect sense to me because the first hour of this movie, it was 1 star for me. I was literally ready to walk out of this movie. I was ready to walk out. I was like, I'm just done with DC movies until Zack Snyder's either gone or they decide to reboot this universe. Because I wanted to bring this up during the review, but during the first hour, it is just jumping all over the place to Aquaman, to Cyborg, to Flash, and it's never setting on one character at all. It's never giving us a good amount of time. There's also like 4 different openings to this movie. You have a cold opening with Superman. Then you have an opening with Batman. Then you have an opening with Wonder Woman. Then you have another opening with Batman. And it's just like, can we choose a thing that feels like an opening or an actual transition throughout the movie? Can we actually feel like we're actually moving the plot rather than we're just still starting at the beginning of something? And that's what it kept feeling like throughout this first hour the entire time. And it was bugging. It was just annoying me to no end. Then we also had the fact that, you know, you go to Aquaman's world, which is in Atlantis, and there's this whole backstory that's going on there, and I'm like, what is happening? He's talking to Queen Mara, played by Amber Heard, and I'm just like, what is happening right now? And she's mentioning about like how he's a child of like a prodigy and all this other stuff. I'm like, oh great, exposition throughout this whole first hour as well. This is fun to enjoy. I'm having a great, my favorite characters totally just be given to me force fed in the first hour, and it annoyed me to no end, and
There's a lot of consolation going on in the theater.
Oh man!
Studio.
My mom was like turning to me and asking me questions throughout the first hour, like, "Wait, who is that? What's happening?" And I was like, "Mom, I wish I can answer it for you better than the movie is trying to do right now." And it was just like, I had to lean over and tell her, "That's Aquaman, blah 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 blah. That's Cyborg, blah 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 blah." And Cyborg's dad is introduced, and he's just gone after like 20 minutes into the movie. Like they save him from somebody, and
He's getting so red. Oh my god!
And no connection whatsoever.
He's getting so red. Oh my
goodness. And then Batman is just being an idiot. Like the first scene he's introduced, he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna capture this criminal, and I'm gonna use him for fear because these parademons are attracted to fear, and we're gonna have them be used for fear." And then the criminal is like having a conversation with Batman after he defeats a parademon, and he's just like, "Oh man, it's because Superman's gone. That's why the parademons are here, right, Batman?" He's like, "You're right, criminal. I'm gonna let you go and not do anything though, because apparently this movie is not coherent at all." And then, oh my god. Anyways. The first hour is just a mess, if you couldn't tell from my rage that I am having right now. It is just a mess. It is not until they're at that rooftop scene with Commissioner Gordon that he comes in to get that paycheck that the movie just becomes somewhat coherent. Hey, we're going to team up and stop the bad guy. The cliched X-Men Apocalypse bad guy. And yeah, he is cliche. He does the lines and whatnot of, "Oh, I'm gonna destroy the world. This is being a primitive beings," and all this other stuff. And it's just like, it's annoying to hear, of course, and whatnot. But at least it's a team up movie. At least Jason Momoa is being funny, like Steve said. At least Gal Gadot, what was it?
Gal Gadot.
Gal Gadot was being great. I liked Cyborg. I loved Superman's return. There was stuff within the second hour that I was enjoying more this time around. Yeah, the last action sequence wasn't that great, but I was having fun with it because there was a few funny jokes, including the characters that I have just mentioned, that I did enjoy. The movie just wraps up, and it's the send-off with Amy Adams giving like a final send-off to all these characters, making you be like, wasn't this a grand adventure with these characters? Wasn't this amazing? Aren't you excited? Steve said he's excited for the Aquaman movie. I'm not. I have no interest of coming back to this universe anytime soon. And also, to me, the Aquaman movie, even though it has Jason Momoa, and he was great in this movie, to me it has the biggest hill to climb because Atlantis looked terrible. It was dark. It looked ghetto for a city underwater. And like, it was too dark. The CG underwater looked terrible, and they couldn't talk underwater. They had to make a bubble, go inside the bubble, and talk, which is just like, well, what? These are Atlanteans, aren't they supposed to talk underwater? Anyways, other than that, going off of what Dom said, some of his positives, I do agree with all the positive things he said, and that second hour, 2 stars out of 4.
Wow. How do you follow that one up? That was a great review. That's passionate. I like that.
That was a rant.
That was a rant. That's for sure.
I had to get it off my chest, man. It's been this movie really bugged me down, and I have to go see this again.
Really?
Yeah,
How
I
come?
promised somebody to go see it with them. I'm regretting that promise now.
Oh, God.
And talking about it makes me realize, yeah, I'm not looking for it on a second viewing.
Take him to Lady Bird. Take him to Lady Bird. Well, I'll talk about that next hour. Now, let me wrap up. Let me put a bow on Justice League. You guys said a lot of my thoughts, but I said before that after the little tidbit of exposition we get, the opening credits that begin with that song Everybody Knows by Sigrid really gave me like the most emotion I've felt in a DC extended universe film up until this point, and that point really stands here. I say that again. Justice League is not that $300 million hot mess that I think a lot of us were expecting, or Joe, you said that you got out of it the first hour. But I think that it really, once again, it continues the DC formula. And the DC formula, like Batman versus Superman, like Man of Steel, swallows its performers in an expensive pigsty of pyrotechnics and CGI that they cannot sustain nor function alongside in any particular way. They get completely consumed by this cacophony of special effects. This overall is a very rickety introduction to the better half of the Justice League that marches the universe forward, like I quoted in my review, like clodhoppers on a field of eggshells. Making a big mess in the process. It's more tolerable than the films that came before it, I think, in my opinion. I think there's a couple good sequences in this. I think that Wonder Woman's great. I think Aquaman sets up for a little bit of an interesting origin story, or at least a little bit of a standalone film. And I think that it's definitely it's a little bit more impressive in some aspects too than Man of Steel as well. But I think it furthers my opinion once again, and I said it at the beginning of the show and I'll say it again. As long as Zack Snyder's attached to this universe, it's got no chance in succeeding. None whatsoever.
This is his last one.
He's proven himself unworthy of a project this big. At this point right now, if they came out and said the sequel to Justice League was going to be directed by Michael Bay, I would have more optimism. That's what I would say. I really would. My
characters have been damaged enough. I don't want Michael Bay to tarnish them more.
Michael Bay's got an aesthetic. You can argue with me. Michael Bay's got an aesthetic. Zack Snyder has got a blank check and a lot of buddies in the visual effects industry. That's what Zack Snyder has versus Michael Bay. I'm not saying that Michael Bay would be my first choice for Justice League 2 or whatever. I'm saying that it would spawn more optimism than it currently is. I give it 2 out of 4 stars. That's my review of Justice League.
All 2 stars.
Indeed. If we're going on a 5 scale, I'll say, because I had to do it for Letterboxd, I'll give it 2.5 out of 5.
I'm sorry, what was your score?
2.
2?
Yeah.
I couldn't. I forgot.
No, we all gave it 2.
The moral
like
of
I
Justice
said,
League, it got buried under a lot of weight.
There was stuff during that first hour. You know, I was hating it. Like Jason Momoa, you said, there's a few comments he has with Bruce Wayne. Like he's like, oh yeah, I protect Gotham. He's like, Gotham, that, and he says something about the city. I don't know if I can say it on air, but
but there's some very odd lines in this movie too. I forgot to mention this over the hour.
Can I mention one?
There's a lot of odd lines, like how lines add scenes. You know what I mean? Like they're trying to end on like not a quip, but like some sort of impact, and it goes nowhere. Real quick, what's your
the scene
line?
When Superman returns, it's his first scene back with Lois Lane, and she goes up to him and says, "Oh, you smell weird." And it was just like, what? He's been buried for how long? Of course he's gonna smell weird.
My line that was just really odd and out of place for me was the one when Batman interacts, when Bruce Wayne interacts with Arthur Curry, when he interacts with Aquaman, and he says too, like Aquaman says something to the extent of like, "You're crazy," and then he swims off to Atlantis, and then Bruce Wayne goes, "Doesn't mean I'm wrong." You know, that was my line. You know what I'm talking about? That was my line at the very beginning.
Yeah, there's tons of lines like that, man.
Yes, it's like a joke.
And then you have Barry Allen ending scene lines with, "Oh, I have oh, look at me, oh."
Let's get less said the better. We just dove into our Justice League review. Just dove into that, talking about it. Now it is time to talk about the numbers. And this is the most important thing about Sleepless with Steve. It's a lifeblood in a way, too. We always try to talk about, at least once a week, talk about the box office numbers. Movies are more than whether or not you like them. Did you like them? What makes money at the box office? It influences trends. It impacts movie-going taste. And this has been a very interesting era. So right now, we're going to be talking about the box office haul of Justice League. It was actually, CNN puts it was hit with some kryptonite at the box office this weekend. The mashup of the 6 big heroes of Justice League only nabbed about $94 million at the box office this weekend. Fifth, very low. It was about 115 million expected. The film brought in 279 million worldwide against its $300 million budget. What do we make of this? What can we make of this? Do we blame reviews? Do we blame the previous installments? I mean, do we blame the fact that Marvel has had such a strong year and people looked at this without much care? What do we make of this?
I have 3 choices. I say that 1, this movie came out too close right after Thor Ragnarok. And having it so close to that really did not help its box office, I think, because people just got done seeing a superhero movie at the beginning of November.
That's a very good point.
I think Thor didn't help that. I think also, the previous movies didn't help it as well. You have, of course, Wonder Woman was great, but you're looking at this, this is not Wonder Woman 2. You know that looking at this, you had to have seen Batman versus Superman. Not many people are fond of Batman versus Superman. A lot of people don't like that movie. So not many people want to go out, or not many people are really rushing out to seeing this. Why would people rushing out to seeing Wonder Woman? I don't know. Maybe because it's a solo movie. We're being introduced to a character. It's weird how that works sometimes, DC.
It's a woman superhero, nonetheless.
Yeah, that too. It was also something different. We haven't really seen a superhero movie done that well at all. We have Catwoman, and I can't think of any other superhero female movies, but Catwoman is a terrible movie.
The Oscar award-winning Halle Berry.
Yeah, with the Oscar award-winning Halle Berry.
Who has not lived up to that Oscar since.
Yeah. You have, it was done very well. It was a woman-led superhero movie, and you had that whole buzz of it was a woman-led superhero movie that really got to that movie.
It was good. It was
a good movie too. It really got them to go out and see that movie. And then the third is that DC is relying too much on their fans to really bail them out. They've been having this thing with not critics, their directors. The one who directed Suicide Squad, David Ayer, was just like, forget the critics. It's all about the fans. And even the stars in interviews were saying, we're doing this more for the fans. Zack Snyder said, I'm doing this more for the fans. You can only say that so much until your fan base starts to collapse on itself because they either stop liking your movies or your fan base is just getting smaller because you're just... Well, I mean, your appeal to moviegoers is getting smaller because you're just appealing to that fan base, and
the
that's
fans
it.
think it sucks. And the fans think, by and large,
well,
think the
I mean, you
movies
got
aren't
some
good.
fans who are saying this is the greatest superhero comic book movie ever. This is the best movie of the year. I'm like, man, have you guys seen Logan? Because apparently you haven't. But yeah,
you bring up very valid points.
Those 3 to me are the things. Could the reviews be something? Yes, that could be another 4th option. Sure, the reviews are always they can bend something people are well, DC's back to sucking again.
Yeah,
sure.
If you want to do it for the fans, don't treat exactly what it was the biggest release of the year.
Yeah,
which is exactly what it was. It was trying to do, and it just I don't know. That's a great breakdown of really what it was, and I can't really add much more on that. I personally I place it solely on just a hobbled together franchise. Mm-hmm. You just
and now it's starting to show,
which is astounding because when was the first Superman movie released?
2012.
You're talking about
no.
the
I'm
70s Superman.
Christopher Reeves.
Oh, 1978.
DC
I believe it was 19.
Yeah.
DC has had its foot in the cinema door since the 70s. They've been doing this for a while. How many with the Nolan films oh geez, what's the director's name?
Sorry,
Batman movies before that. Jeez Louise, they have been doing this for a while, making pretty good movies, sometimes amazing movies like Dark Knight. I think we kind of want to forget about the Val Kilmer Batman as well, but you know what?
Or George Clooney.
They have had hits, and how they're just coming up with these middling charting kind of movies. It's astounding. It's astounding that how much blood and toil and work like those CG animators are trying to put into this, and it's just not going.
It's not going to pay
not
off.
going anywhere.
And now it's really the question too, and like Aquaman's just about. I think Aquaman is either in post production or just damn near done, and like now you're going to be looking at it going in the future where it's like. Because I know Batman vs. Million World did not make the money they wanted it to. It capped out at close to 900 million worldwide. They wanted it to hit $1 billion. In my opinion, I think if a movie makes almost $900 billion and considered a disappointment, I think then you have either way too high expectations or your movie's too expensive. I think if the benchmark is $1 billion to say that it was worth making, you're not going to you're not doing Hollywood accounting properly.
They probably thought with the two most iconic heroes of all time,
Yes.
we should hit that benchmark. Thing is, though, if you don't make a good product and word about it gets around, people are not going to go see it.
No, that's really what happened. Even Man of Steel didn't do totally what they wanted, and that was before anybody could have imagined that DC would get off on the wrong foot like this. I think that it's a combination too of like DC's always played second banana to Marvel, even before this whole new extended universe. I think that's a big part of it. And I think the lackluster movies caught up with themselves. I really do.
Yeah.
I think people getting burned on Suicide Squad, people getting burned on Batman versus Superman, and people getting burned on Man of Steel. And we're not talking hardcore fanboys, because here's the thing. If you're projecting 115 million, okay? If you're projecting that much money for Justice League, and it made 94, okay? That missing 20 million, let's make it even 20 million. That missing 20 million are casual moviegoers who like to see superhero movies. That's who I think you didn't get. That's who I think you didn't get for that. I think in that part you got some, I think maybe a small percent of that is fanboys, but I think also a percent of that too is people that want to go see good superhero movies and they have not seen good ones with DC.
Yeah, there's also...
Which is a crisis in itself,
This
too.
is something my mom asked me. She asked me, she's like, oh, so did they make a Flash movie and an Aquaman movie? Did I have to see that before this movie? I'm like, well, here's the funny thing, Mom. They didn't. They only made a Wonder Woman movie and then a Superman movie, and that's it.
Yeah.
And she's just like, oh, so is it maybe some people looked at the poster and said, well, I haven't caught up with these movies. I didn't know an Aquaman movie came out or a Flash movie. You know, people might have been like, they could have been, like, they'd be like, I guess I just didn't know it came out because of Marvel, and you have the other Marvel studio owned by Fox releasing their movies. It's possible they probably thought like, oh, I guess I missed a movie leading up to this point or something.
I don't know about that necessarily. I see where you're coming from. In DC's defense, like we didn't have a Black Widow or Hawkeye movie before we got to Avengers.
That's
right?
true.
No, but they were integral roles in their own standalone.
Exactly.
They
They
also
are-
you also have Black Widow
movies.
coming in one of the Iron Man sequels.
That is true.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
I
I know what you're saying. There was no solo efforts.
yeah. So that it's not 1-to-1 in that instance.
It's definitely not the reason for the box
Sure,
office thing.
absolutely, yeah. But also, I don't know. I feel like the who was first, the Justice League or the Avengers? Not in movies, but literally in the comic book history. Justice League. Superman was literally the first comic book superhero. He is the comic book superhero. The first one everyone comes up with. As good as Iron Man and Captain America are doing in terms of cinema and the franchises, whatever. You go up to any kid like, oh, hey, name a superhero. They're gonna say Superman
Or Batman.
5 times.
You show
out of
that
10 at
S or
least.
that bat symbol, they're going to associate it with those two.
Of course.
They are embedded into the cultural zeitgeist way more than Iron Man is.
Yeah.
Honestly, I did not care for Iron Man at all until Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr. took
Yeah.
over the role, and
Yes.
then it.
I think
it
you're like a lot
implanted
of
on me.
people. I don't really think many people thought too
I didn't
much
know
of
Thor
Iron Man.
was a Marvel hero.
It's funny, we talk about DC playing catch
Very
up.
practical.
Marvel was playing catch up to when they came out when they were coming out with Phase 1. People didn't even know what.
No,
Phase
Marvel
1
kind
was.
of had a branding
Yeah.
problem themselves too. It's like we can't just make a superhero movie or a Superman movie and include Lois Lane, Kryptonite, the phone booth, the
Yeah.
Metropolis.
And people know all
and
this.
Daily
Yeah.
Planet. People know all these things.
But-
They're in the cultural landscape,
Exactly.
like you said. Yeah,
Exactly. And
That's
through
another good point.
Through smart, strategic, planning, careful handling of the characters, an overarching vision where they take time, and also
Hired some valedictorian marketers.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. And the risk of actually investing into this mega franchise and also being the first one to do it and dictating your own fate and all that stuff.
Not having to play catch up.
Yeah. We're all retreading ground from the previous discussion as well. But I think that's That's just a huge driver of where we are.
Not coming up.
Goodness.
I think
It's
so.
And this
sad.
is fatigue.
It's also sad, not coming off of that point, just kind of going into something else. It's sad that a team-up movie, because we were talking about how Batman vs. Superman underperformed for them, and like they were probably thinking with these two iconic heroes, it should hit that mark. It's sad to see a team-up movie not even hit the 100 million mark,
That's
honestly.
disappointing. And like I think too, and this is why I'll say too, going back to Fantasy Movie League, I'd be hesitant. I'm not saying if I took it or didn't, but I'd be hesitant and even just betting on that movie too, because DC movies, with the exception of Suicide Squad, but Suicide Squad also came out in a barren August 2016, when there was nothing that really came out. Suicide Squad maintained a little bit well in August because it had virtually no competition. But Batman versus Superman, Man of Steel sunk like a rock. They faded off a lot quicker than people expected them to. They stuck around and made a little bit of money, but Batman versus Superman was like a 65% second weekend drop, meaning it made 65% less than it did its opening weekend. So like Justice League 2, coupled with the fact that like, again, a lot of people rush out to see these movies. Then you got Coco this weekend, okay? You got some good adult fare this weekend. Adults can't complain, there's nothing for them to see. You got Murder on the Orient, Three Billboards is expanding, Lady Bird's doing wonders. I was in a sold-out showing of Lady
Wonder.
there you go. I was in a sold-out showing of Lady Bird Sunday or on Saturday morning at 11 o'clock. Lady Bird's going to make a killing, too.
Sold out?
Sold out at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Who was in the theater?
It was a wide variety of people. It was everything
Really?
from our age to 50-year-olds.
Wow.
And this is a great crowd pleaser movie. I cannot wait to talk about that in a few minutes. But anyway, that's what I'm saying, though, is there's so much else to choose from. Hell, Wonder is another movie that's killing it, too. So there's a lot. I'm not saying that these are direct competitions, but there's a lot to see right now, and there's a lot of stuff that's superhero movies, and there's a lot of stuff with better optics than another superhero movie. And Joe brought up a great point when he started out, too. I think it's fair to say Thor Ragnarok had something to do with this.
Yeah.
I think that's very fair to say. I think that's.
I don't know who got the release date first, who chose the release date, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's like DC was like, okay, we're gonna slate for this November 17th release, and then Marvel was just like, oh really? How about we take that November 5th right there? And then we'll launch our Punisher Netflix series on the same day your movie's coming out.
And Marvel's ain't not gonna worry too. Even if Marvel was the second one to choose the release date, Marvel's not gonna worry too. If it's like, oh, are we gonna take a little bit of an L from Justice League too? Marvel doesn't care. Thor was never the biggest, most bankable property. They already had Guardians and Spider-Man as a safety net. So even if Ragnarok all out bombed, there was a safety net there. Not that it was ever going to.
And Disney has Star Wars at the end of every year.
Yeah.
a Star
That's
Wars
your
movie.
bailout.
which is gonna make enough
the-
money to run 6 countries.
That's the safety. Always is Star Wars in December.
Hell yeah.
That's your trump
That's
card.
crazy how that's a thing now.
You
Yeah.
guys better be ready. I'd like to have you back for that too. I'd like to do a big Star Wars show too. I think we're gonna do a big Star Wars Last Jedi show. There's gonna be a lot to talk about with that.
If I had to give DC some advice for your next movie,
Don't listen to us. Believe
yeah,
me.
definitely, they're listening right now.
This is good.
Jeff
PR.
Johns is definitely listening.
Let him hear it.
Cut the budget down, man.
Yes.
Cut it down. 300 million? Are you insane?
And with marketing, I'll tell you right now, this movie was a $500 million property. This was with marketing. This thing needs, I bet you right now, this thing needs at least $550 million to break even, and like $1 billion to justify its existence. I bet you right now.
Wonder Woman was half this budget. It was 149 million.
And I think that's what they're going to see. They're going to look at that.
Go back to that budget. The first Avengers movie was 220 million. And just going to like some other movies, like Logan was 97 million. Dude, if you gotta do something small like that, do something small like that. Honestly, with one of these heroes, it could be done with Batman. Honestly, something like what they did with Logan can be what they done with Logan can be done with Batman.
I got my Academy Awards. I got my for-year consideration Academy Award screener of Logan. I'm still waiting for my for-year consideration for Justice League. You know what I mean? Like again, but I mean it goes back to that.
Even the first Guardians was 170 million. And that's another team-up movie. It's like,
and that, if anyone, if you were to show me, sorry to interrupt you, if you were to show me Justice League, again, I'd have to be kind of ignorant about movies, more so than I am now. But like, if you were to show me Justice League and then show me Guardians and then tell me which one cost 300 million, I would probably say Guardians just because of the colors.
in space and everything too.
I would probably suggest Guardians. This really didn't look like a $300 million movie.
No,
to me. It really didn't.
I remember when we reviewed Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, you said it was color vomit on screen.
Yeah.
To me,
but I said it was a wisely used budget too.
Yeah, well, at least Guardians is the kind of color vomit where it's like
appealing.
That looks kind of gross and cool. Like, oh, that caught my attention. Whereas
Justice League is like,
I don't even want to look at this.
I would rather watch it. I would always rather watch a Guardians than a Batman versus Superman easily. Batman versus Superman was so ugly.
those
This
colors-
was a step up, but not by much.
Those colors like melt into each other in a way that is not pleasing. I'm sorry, that total tangent.
I think I said too. I think I said when I was talking about, because I think we brought Batman versus Superman again when we were talking about Guardians too earlier this year. I said with the DC universe, if your eyes could puke, they would. I mean, like if they really would. They really watch stuff like this.
And it's not like and then puke. We're talking more like a
Just slowly.
yes, no, that's exactly what it is. It's like just slowly it catches up on you, and then
You're starting to notice how bad everything's looking.
and then like, okay, Wonder Woman, I can take a little bit of a breathe. Oh, we're back in Justice League. And then it just hits you. And
Honestly,
then,
yeah.
Batman's never been in a
comes
movie
out.
that's had like the Batman hasn't been in like an atmosphere that's better lit than the station right now. You know
Lego
what I mean?
Batman.
You know, that's about it. That's about it. You know what I mean? Oh man, but yeah, no, I like Lego Batman a lot better.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of the Batman character,
That Justice League, that Lego Justice League, to me, I was having more fun with them than that Lego Batman movie than here.
There we go.